Hi, Angie.
Yeah, you got it.
Okay.
Is it just junk mail or?
This one is not.
My son's recycled really big ones and so I feel like this is very new.
Hi, Jenny. It's
If
going
he does, so what is it, pumpkin seeds, you know, things. So,
All right, 6 o'clock. Guys ready to get started? All right. Yeah, the pledge allegiance. You get started. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, welcome home. A little bit of full house tonight.
Like a party.
Oh, we like this type of stuff. We never get anybody come say hi to us.
So popular.
Okay, so we have public forum sign up in the back there. Get your gift book. I think there was 2 people on there. But we can go on to announcements.
Okay, so tonight we're recognizing the Oregon Substitute Teacher of the Year.
Yay!
And that's why we have all of these people here. It's not
Oh,
else that
for
we're
us.
doing. Sorry. But, so the, Kate, would you come here, please? So this is Kate Thurber Brown. And she has been a sub in our district for like 7 years.
No, 9.
9, okay, 9 years, helped us out all through COVID. And I have just heard nothing but great things about what she does for our kids and our teachers. When you leave your classroom and you know that a sub is gonna be in there, it's always iffy if anything's really gonna happen, and Katie does take care of our kids. So we really appreciate you and this little gift.
Thank
of appreciation. And I think Andrew wanted to share something.
Yeah, so I said some things about the wonderful Katie Thurber Brown at the event last Friday, the Oregon Substitute Teacher Conference, I think that's what you call it. I can't, there's not I mean, there's great subs. I'm just gonna say, she's a great sub. She's great. But I did say, going from teaching for 11 years into administration, you know, those aren't easy jobs, but I think substitute teaching is like the hardest and it's terrifying. And I would never do it. And Katie does it with such patience and compassion. And Jervis High School has always considered Katie not just a teacher, but she's a member of the family. She's like a mother in school. So yeah, congratulations.
He's
My wife, thank you. And thank you all for coming.
Thank you for appreciating Katie.
Yeah.
And what she
Yeah.
does.
Okay, I had one other announcement that I just wanted to go over real quickly with the board. And so I wanted to give you a reminder of the upcoming meeting dates that we have, because I want to make sure people can attend, and if we need to just go ahead and cancel something, I need to know that now so that I can plan accordingly. There's some business that we have to take care of in November. And so I want to make sure that we're going to have a quorum. So, okay, that's all right.
I will check.
Okay, so on November 13th, we have the next bond advisory committee meeting. And that's Henry and or Maria. And then on the 21st of November, that is our regular board meeting. So that's the Thursday before Thanksgiving. There will be some action items that you have for that night. So if you're not sure if you're going to attend, or
The 21st.
yeah, the 21st, or if you have a commitment, you can let me know so we can figure that out.
I'm a no for that day for sure.
You're a no for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So then we'll check with Maria to make sure we have the quorum.
Yeah.
And if we do, we'll just continue with that date.
Perfect.
And then December 19th is our regular December meeting, and are you gone that day?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
like the holiday.
A big holiday, okay. So we'll also double check. I mean, I would think everybody else is gonna be here. I don't know. I just wanted to double check. So we know kind of what we're, how to strategize.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I have. No, actually, that's not true. I have one more announcement. So, a gentleman came to the office this afternoon, and was upset with the change in practice that we've had with regard to the track. So previously, after kids are done outside, we would open the gate and we would keep it open until the next morning. Right, so whatever time kids are done, after football practice or whatever. And then we would keep it open until the next morning when kids start showing up, the custodians close the gates. Well, we've been receiving reports that people are out here with their dogs. They're aggressive dogs, scaring people and being aggressive. And then we've also had reports that people are going down the walking trail and maybe doing something nefarious.
Oh, boy.
And so because we don't have any cameras out there, and I just would hate for something to happen with regard to a dog attack at another patron. I decided that for now, we're gonna have the gates closed at dusk.
Yeah.
So that, dusk is like
Well,
happening
now-
right now, pretty.
Right now.
So for
yeah.
winter, it will be a little bit of a problem. But I don't know how else to ensure that the things remain safe. And there had been a person who'd been complaining about it, what was happening. And when we asked, are you calling the police department? Are you calling dispatching? They make the call, but then nobody shows up. And so I just don't feel confident that if something were to happen, that we'd be able to have immediate response for now. So
So, and these dogs are off leash?
they're off leash, and we can't, the cameras we have in terms of that, you can see, but you can't identify. And, I mean, it doesn't do us any good if we can't identify because the police don't know who to go contact, and I don't know if they're not on duty or if they're short-staffed or whatever when this person is calling at, 8:30, 9 o'clock at night.
So these folks are, they're walking on campus.
Yeah.
They don't park in their cars anywhere around here that we know of right now.
Yeah.
We have cameras for this parking lot and the high school, yes.
We have, limited camera ability.
That's what
And
we're
it
gonna
will,
approve.
that is why yes, that's one of the safety and security
One of the safety
measures.
measures.
So,
Are we gonna put up signs or anything around?
we put up signs that said, track closes at dusk.
And we do have something that says dogs on leashes, yes.
Yeah, people are not respecting that, so we'll have to just work on that. I'll work on that communication piece.
Always put one,
Yeah.
mess it up for everybody.
So if you hear that, that's why, we're trying to kind of figure out how to do a safety and security piece until we
Yes.
have the technology to be able to.
I'm assuming there'd be
Better.
some liability on our part.
There would be, yes.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. We have enough bills as it is. We don't need no more.
Yes, we have. That's it for my announcement.
Approval of minutes. You guys go through them. Are you okay with them?
Yeah, I made one minor note to Sandra, so she's aware of that.
I'm gonna make the motion.
Perfect,
I
yes.
made that the Gervais School District #1 Board of Directors approve the regular and executive session minutes from September 19th, 2020.
We have a motion.
A second.
We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, very good. Okay, public forum. This is something I have to read here, so bear with me. So public participation in board meeting, school district, River School District Policy BDDH-AR. Statements by members of the public should be brief and concise. The chairperson may, at his or her discretion, establish a time limit on discussions or oral presentations by a visitor of any topic. Speakers may offer objective criticisms of school operations and programs, but the board will not hear complaints concerning individual school personnel. The chairperson will direct complaints to the appropriate means for the board's consideration of legitimate complaints involving individuals. This time, members of the public are invited to present concerns to the board. Did you have a couple? Did you get them?
No, there's no one.
There's nobody signed up?
No.
Oh, very good.
Yes.
Well, not very good, but. All right. On the reports. I think.
We have student council.
Yay! My
Keep her up.
favorite. My favorite.
Don't mind me, I was getting ready for FFA, so I'm not good, so. My look is a vampire, so. don't worry.
That was perfect.
Exactly.
Fine, okay. Okay, hello, my name is Cecile, this is a full reading report, and this is, I'm Gabby. Okay. This week is Few Week, Monday was Disney Day, Tuesday was Bad Fashion, and Wednesday was Emotional Day. And today is Iconic Duo Day, and tomorrow's Hawaiian Day. Yesterday we had our matcha volleyball, and our class, the junior class, took this win this year.
Mhm.
Homecoming is this Saturday, and our theme is Inside Out, and the motto is come and make the core merry with us. Right, and then football team has never won a league title. And if they win their game this Friday, they will get the title for the most points in the state of Oregon.
Wow.
What?
They're ranked number 7 in state. And then we received a T-Mobile grant for sports. And from there, they're gonna probably enter more T-Mobile competition grants for us. So, yeah.
That's good. Thing. Yeah.
And then soccer for boys, they had a game against Dayton. Like they tied after 4 years of them always winning for them. And then the boys went against Western Christian. The result was a 1-5. Their senior night was yesterday as well. They got called up. They called up all the seniors. They gave them a goodie bag. And yes, we do have an opportunity to go to the playoffs. So, soccer. And then girls soccer, they have been persevering and building this year up and powering through their games as well as them getting bonded with each other. Soccer. Cross country, this previous Tuesday, Dayton High School has hosted an event where the boys won the Everett Air Museum 4x1 mile relay, while the girls had practice to prepare for this upcoming meet. So the boys, since the boys have a team, our girls team, it's hard because some of the girls have work and stuff, so we weren't able to like qualify. So the boys went and they won first place. So they did as good.
That's
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah.
And yesterday, it was also senior year. Well, we celebrate 3 of the boys, what they have accomplished, and tomorrow we have another meet at Southwest Christian. Volleyball is again a building year this year, which they've been really improving. Like the games, it's been actually really good to watch. Like I didn't win, but I saw videos of it. And I was like, okay, I see you guys from home. But I see you guys. Yeah, because I couldn't attend, so I was like, I'm seeing you guys some footage. Like, I'm sorry. I'll be there by spirit. And then football, not football, FFA, tonight we have an FFA 7. Well, we recap Saturday, September's meeting. And we have a costume contest, or you do like any makeup or anything. Well, you'll win a 25 Dutch gift card. And then soon after that, we'll decorate Halloween cookies. And we'll discuss our upcoming pumpkin patch that we host for the elementaries to get their pumpkins, pet animals, like eat cookies, juice, like, and then we let them go, just like enjoy it. And then if they need help picking up a pumpkin, we help them assist. Pretty much is our upcoming event. And then Yearbook has recently had their first deadline for the yearbook, like their interview sections. And they're working on also getting new stories for the yearbook. And they're also planning a trip to Fall Media Day at the U of O for December 9th, I believe. And then as well as the photography class is gonna take a field trip, I believe, next week to Silver Falls to work on their skills for pictures and taking landscapes and portraits.
Pretty impressive.
Yeah.
And then National Honor Society is also planning on the blood drive. That's gonna be on November 12th from 8:30 to 2 p.m. And I'm pretty sure they're gonna be welcoming also the community they're willing to donate blood. So that is also going on. Águilas de Oro, they have started practicing for the Dia de los Muertos performances that will be taking place at the elementary school on November 5th. November 1st,
Oh.
sorry. And yeah. Tutoring and homework help is every Tuesday and Thursday if students need it, or like even if they don't need it, like they just lost like a homework, like they haven't finished, they can like stay up after school and finish it, either Paul or Joy, or any like teacher that's willing to stay after school, if they ask. And they also if let's say a student needs like transport bus, they like just have to let them know ahead, and then they'll schedule it. And then college and career, we have this year presenting students during advisory, like military, Western, and ULO, PSU. Yeah. That's pretty much it. For report, we have. That's all.
Yay.
Yay.
Exciting things.
Yeah, the college stuff, is that, just seniors participate or?
Everyone.
all-
They just have to sign up with the QR code in order to like see those presentations. Yeah.
Good. That's good, all right.
Is homecoming gonna be here or is it in a different venue?
It's gonna be elementary. Elementary,
No,
not elementary, middle school.
Yeah, the middle school gym.
Yeah.
Oh, all right,
Yeah.
very good. Who's the football team playing? Do you guys know? Homecoming? Regis, oh.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. Come wear pink. It's pink out, guys. So if you guys do pull up, pink out, guys. You all red, I'm like, sorry guys, not today. I'm like, no, cause last week, I feel more green, I don't know what, we were like, another game.
It was camo, I
Yeah.
believe, and nobody showed up.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like, we need to get the memo, guys. If it's camo, we all need to wear camo. Like, steel branches, put the on. Nature, I don't know.
Love it. That's awesome. All right, well, that's pretty much it from us today.
Yeah.
Thank
thank you, ladies. Great job, like always. Very good. Thank you.
Gretchen. I'll make sure I see the branches over. I love that. Well, pink would be Barbies. We'll do Barbie theme, right? Yeah. Yeah. Creighton. When I come here, we want to use the clip for Creighton.
Great job, Paul. Great job.
Yeah. That's so cute. Top branches, Creighton. Yeah. Here, you can take it.
They're talking to Karen. I remember when they were at elementary school. Just, I mean, it's funny to see them when they just grow up, and I remember them as like fourth graders. You know, me too. So. Goal 1 report. So our goal 1, the district will promote social and emotional growth, support the mental well-being of all, create an environment of empathy and respect. And then the individual responsible for that would be myself, and then Sarah Bradley, the new assistant principal at the elementary school. And so for our first performance indicator 1A, support all stakeholders in the implementation of a new social emotional curriculum, which is second step, based on survey data received during the previous school year and then throughout this school year as well. And then our measure was to create a new scope and sequence document and then a continuous professional development plan, which we have accomplished, and then providing a board report to you. In the goal, it was November, so next month, but here I am right now. So
He's really cool.
there we go. And so we have created that scope and sequence. We have rolled out second step pre-K through 12. So this is the first time that we have had a seamless scope or a seamless social emotional curriculum from our youngest learners all the way up. And we're even using some of it in our transition program, which is our 18 to 21-year-olds that have a modified or certificate of attendance that are still with us for a few more years. And so we've only been in it for the better part of, 6 weeks into the school year. The first couple of weeks, we're not really diving into social emotional curriculum yet, just because everything else is so new. So we've really only been in it in earnest for about 4 weeks now. So the data is still really new in terms of how it's being received district-wide. But that's something that we're going to pay attention to, and then just pivot as we need to. But as I sit here right now, I have not received anything from any of the administrative staff or anybody else that has really indicated that it is not a good fit. There is that recency effect where it's like, oh, we're on a new curriculum. We've changed curriculums over time. But that will go away relatively quickly. And I think everybody will recognize that the goal is to stick with Second Step for an indefinite period of time. It's tested and tried and true, and it's one of the most widely used ones in the nation. So I think it will be a good fit for us. And the fact that it does span pre-K through 12 plus
Very good.
is a really good benefit, because students will be able to see a seamless move when they go from elementary to middle.
I like that. I was thinking.
Yeah, absolutely. Performance indicator 1B, so assess the perception of belongingness among district student, staff, and community members, and then implement initiatives that specifically address this. Everybody that was on kind of the Goal 1 committee over the summer played a really important part in identifying these, but I would say selfishly, this sense of belongingness was kind of driven by me. I'm just fascinated at the concept of student perceptions of belongingness and how that translates into a desire to be there, which then translates into their performance, both socially and behaviorally and scholastically and all those kind of things. And the factor of belongingness, I think, can oftentimes be taken for granted. We just assume that this is your high school, you have, or what, like this, you have school spirit. But we definitely know that that's not always the case. And even after coming out of COVID, we see nationally, we see statewide, we see regionally and locally. There is a sea change in how students are perceiving belongingness with their school, with their teachers, with their peers. There's been a pretty fundamental shift. And so the idea this year was to really try to measure that both quantitatively and qualitatively. Like, what does that mean for us? And then how can we respond in ways to give our students the best sense that those that are here that care about them, like, we really do believe they belong, and we want them to feel like they belong. And so the counseling team, our social workers, our behavior specialists, everybody, we're kind of in the infancy stages of this. We hit a little bit of a road bump because we have one counselor who is off on paternity leave. We have another counselor who's off on maternity leave. We had to take one person, one building, and shift them up to cover duties at a different building. And so as a counseling staff, we're meeting building needs across the board, but we're a little bit on our heels right now of just like, what's that bigger picture stuff we're trying to take care of? So we're still meeting weekly. We're still meeting monthly with our YST team, and we're actually really, I don't even know if I reported on this, but pre-COVID, the YST gets together monthly, and that's where our team gets together with like the police department and EHS and a couple of other advocate groups in the area, where we just kind of talk about what's going on in Jervis, just even outside of the district. Pre-COVID, about once a quarter, that group would be all of the regional superintendents, all of the regional chiefs of police, or a representative from the Marion County Sheriff, and all of those. And then that broke down over COVID. Over the summer, Danny and I had a conversation, and she decided that we should kickstart that again. And so we emailed out all the 5 superintendents and all the sheriffs and all the police chiefs and everybody. And I think next Thursday will be our first regional leadership YST meeting that we've had in about 4 years, and Jervis is going to host those this year. So that's where all the superintendents, or their designees, all the chiefs of police get together, and we don't just say like, what's going on in Jervis. North Marion says, this is what's going on in North Marion, and we're seeing it creep south. Or St. Paul hasn't seen anything, but Mount Angel's seen this. And it's like, well, it's difficult for all those superintendents and chiefs of police to all get together and talk for 45 minutes or 60 minutes, but what can be gleaned from those conversations can give individual superintendents really good visibility that something's coming down the road. because we're already seeing it in other districts or things like that. So we're on our way with this. We're not going to lose sight of it, but we're just kind of still gathering our bearings on how to approach this district-wide. And then finally, prioritize the efficacy and the referral staffing and 360-degree communication process with our behavior support team so that all members of the student support network feel empowered to assist those students in their SEL behavior journey. We are moving with this. We've had some conversations with all three buildings, but even I think chiefly with the elementary school on like just trying to re-educate everybody on like, what does the BST actually do? We meet every single week, but what does that meeting look like? It's conversations about how when the BST gets together, that's like a district level conversation with the assumption that a lot of things at the school level should have already been considered or taken care of, and the solutions are not evident. So then we kind of elevate it to a district level conversation, but it wasn't necessarily clear how that communication path worked for each individual building and each, you know, what merited a BST referral, what doesn't, and those kind of things. So this goal really kind of helped us shine a light at the start of this school year that some of that stuff needed to get cleaned up. And then the idea is after now that we're really started to clean it up, that we really want to implement this 360-degree process so that if a teacher does a BST referral, that they're not just kind of left in the lurch as to like what's happening or what conversation is happening or what decisions are being made, that we're able to then go back to that teacher in a timely manner to say, we're working on it, but the solution is not clear. And that's oftentimes the case. There are tangles when it comes to social, emotional, behavioral issues. Or have you tried these things? And they might say, nope, that never really came to mind. All right, let's try that. Come back to us in a couple of weeks and see if things. So we're in the process of that. But I would say that we're marching our way forward with this particular deliverable as well. Sorry, Sandra. Now I reflect on that. I think I was auditioning for a Micro Machine commercial. Okay, good. I was like, Betty Butter wants some butter. Much better. Type that fast.
Thank you, Craig.
All right.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll stick around.
Do you want to do the summer school?
Oh, I'd be happy to.
Yeah, let's just go ahead and roll
Yeah,
right
okay,
into yours.
perfect. So summer school data. So actually pretty excited to report this. It's always fun when you dive into the sandbox and you try something new and the data comes back and you're like, wait a second, that worked. So here we are. And so with the summer school data, what I did is, and I probably looked at over 2,100 different unique lines of an Excel spreadsheet comparing data. So I took every single first grader through eighth grader from the 22-23 school year all the way up until September of 24-25 school year. And I looked at their iReady scores in the spring and I looked at their iReady scores in the fall. And I'm comparing scores. I'm looking at every single student that we've had across those years. I'm looking at just the students that attended summer school. I'm looking at and a couple of different variables. And so if I was a psychometrician or a data analyst, they would probably have a field day with this kind of stuff. This is a 30,000 foot analysis, but it does paint a good picture for us. This is an example. All students are going to be on your left-hand side. Summer school students are going to be on your right-hand side. If the score of the student in the spring was 500 and the score of that same student in the fall was 505, you would see an increase of 5 points. But if in the fall their score was 495, you would see a decrease of 5 points. And so I took every single student in first through eighth grade over the last several years, and I did all these averages. And so this would tell us that all first graders through eighth graders, this current last spring to this current fall, this would be a negative 2 point reduction, whereas this in reading, whereas red, they would have a positive 4.2 in math. And so we can kind of compare that. A good thing to keep in mind is that for the students that attended summer school, we invited for elementary school and middle school, those students that were typically in the bottom third of the class. So we had a limited number of slots if we wanted to do that 1-to-5 ratio. And we couldn't invite every single first kindergartner through eighth grader and maintain that ratio. So we said, okay, we can invite 140 kids. And so we said that those kids that need that level of attention the most are likely going to be these kids down here. And so we looked at their spring iReady scores and we basically cleaved it off at that bottom third and they got the invitation. And those are the kids that ended up coming to summer school. traditionally what you would see is that those students that are in the bottom third, they are going to experience the greatest regression over summer, that what we call summer slide or summer loss. Those are the students that are the farthest behind. So when you progress and they're out of school for 3 months, you're going to see those, they're just going to drop significantly compared to those students that are up here. However, what we saw is this is all students grades 1 through 8 this past summer. Reading, they had a regression of -6, and math, a regression of -4. But for summer school students, they actually had a positive increase in their iReady scores for reading and a roughly an exact comparison for math. So what this tells us is that our students who would have typically had a regression that would have a graph down to here, either had a better performance on their iReady scores for reading or an equal performance for math. And so what that tells us is that our summer school students in this representation had no summer slide whatsoever, which I think is pretty powerful. The other context I will tell you is that a -6 summer slide national averages is somewhere around 20 to 30% for like third graders through fifth graders. There's not a lot of data that's out there. So the data that is out there tells us that for the average third grader or the average fifth grader nationally, they're going to experience about a 20 to 25% decline in their test scores over the course of the summer. This represents something much closer to about a 5% decline. So a -6, a -4, a -5, anything that's -15 or less is much better than the national average. So this is really good. If you look at, I don't know, this is first grade. So I'm just going to pop through the grades relatively quickly. But this is first grade. You can see first graders had a declination of about -3 for reading, whereas our summer school first graders had a reciprocal jump of the opposite direction by the same amount, and then roughly the same for math. Second grade, kind of anomalous, as you'll see, but this is also where we have to look at the data to say, we invited about 30 Western Oregon students to work summer school. What I looked at is we actually had more Western students that were working with our second graders than we did all the other grades for some reason. And so they just probably weren't strong in their instructional skills. So we didn't get as much of a performance return for our second graders, but still, you're talking about scores that are 15 points or less with the exception here, and that's barely over. So still better than the national average for a slide. Here's our all students for third grade, whereas in summer school students, they had a positive increase across the board. Our fourth graders, this is roughly comparable. You're still looking at less than a 10. This is roughly comparable. So still, our summer school students did not have any summer school slide that was different than the entire student body. Here's our fifth grade data. Your math is roughly the same, but still just a -5. Your reading, our fifth graders showed a significant increase compared to the entire student body. Here's our sixth grade, maybe if I'm tracking correctly, roughly the same. Here's our seventh grade. This is fantastic. Because if you look at where your number is right here, our seventh graders came out of summer school with an exceptionally better reading score than the student body. So this is pretty tremendous. And then our eighth grade, this one hit us a little bit. They're also eighth graders during the summer. So we don't know how well they bought into summer school because they were already high schoolers in their minds. And so what we saw across the board was that those students that were summer school or SS versus all students AS, across the board, our summer school students experienced the same declination, which was minimal, or a better performance than the all student body, grades 1 through 8. And we actually had some pretty big jumps in some of these grades where, like, for example, seventh grade reading, summer school students had nearly a 30-point performance higher than the overall student body, which is a pretty tremendous thing to be able to say, but it doesn't end there. So in the spring of 2024, the elementary school did something called a blitz. And that's where we hired 2 more teachers. We put them in a room. We invited all the third graders that needed help and the fifth graders there that needed help. And they got some academic intensive intervention for about 2 months in the spring before school ended. We called that the blitz. And so I looked at all students. I looked at summer school students. I looked at the students that attended the blitz in the spring, and then the students that were both blitz students and summer school students. These are our current fourth graders. What you can see without question is that when we gave them intensive academic intervention in the spring and then intensive academic intervention over summer, they blew everybody else out of the water, which was incredible. And these are the students that needed a kickstart for their academic journey in elementary school. And so that's our current fourth graders when they were third graders. And you would say, well, wow, that's kind of anomalous. What about the sixth graders that were blitzed when they were fifth graders? I would say, not so fast. They also blew everybody out of the
Can you
water.
move that, the box?
So even here, across the board, you can see that there was negative declinations for here, those that attended spring. But again, you're still talking minimal. You're not even at -15. So you're still well below the national average. But here are spring blitz students that are now sixth graders. They did better than across here. And then those that were blitz and summer school did fantastic. So what that tells us is that investing in academic intervention during the school year, investing in academic intervention during the summer moves the needle. It just does.
I just think we need to have year-round school.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. And then lastly, this was all students 22, 23, and then all students 23, 24. You can see reading and then math just kind of flip-flop, but it's all pretty much across the board right here, which shows us that the national average would be closer down to like -20 and -18, -20. So with everything that we're doing over the last 2 years worth of iReady performance and the efforts that have been going on at the elementary school and the middle school, our students, the data tells us they are not experiencing a summer slide as they might have otherwise without the current initiatives that we're doing.
When do you do these tests? How far into the school?
Sure. So the beginning of the year one should be done within about the first 3 weeks. It is meant to measure what you know coming out of the summer without being biased or influenced by anything you learn from the first day of school. It's like, what do you know in September? The March one is I want to say the last couple of weeks of May. March.
The midpoint.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the midpoint one is I think it's maybe right around or a little bit after the midpoint break. And then the last one, the end of the year dipstick it's at the very end of May. And so we're able to use that one as basically what have you learned all the way up through the school year before you hit June? Because once we hit June, everybody's kind of in that mode of summer done. So you don't want to test them, the last week of school because you're not going to get a lot of good data out of that.
How long does it take all the kids to technically catch up to where they were when they went to summer vacation?
Yeah, so if they did, those students that did not attend summer school, they have a summer school slide. It's truly unique. And one of the hard things to measure is something called the Matthew effect. Like when you are accelerating with your grade at standards and everything, you're moving from second grade to third grade to fourth grade to fifth grade. But what we see with a lot of our special education students or students that are falling behind, they don't progress at the same pace. So they may take much longer to move up. So essentially it's, for lack of a better adage, it's the rich gets richer and the poor get poor. This just keeps getting greater and greater of a distance between the two. And so when we're talking about how long does it get caught up from that summer slide, it really depends on the student. Some students never get caught up. And that summer slide just compounds one summer after the next summer after the next summer. Whereas some are able to play catch up. And the idea that this blitz and summer school showed us is that we took the students that would traditionally never get caught up, bottom third of the class, and they actually, wait, go back one. They accelerated past what these students were doing, which tells us it is possible to not just stop the summer slide, but accelerate past it for even the students that are going to find academics the most difficult if we invest in the intervention techniques that we know, the curriculum that we're standardizing and norming across the board, using those best practice instructional strategies, et cetera, investing in summer school programs, like those kind of things. It tells us that this works.
That's pretty fascinating. I have a third grader who's complaining about it today. He can't get math, where last year he loved it. So this is like really fascinating.
Yeah. Notice.
And the summer school, progressions and things there, was that? It, 'cause they had a lot more one-on-one, yes?
Yeah, so over the summer,
That,
we put them in a group of no more than 5 students for 1 adult for like 6 weeks.
there's some more data.
So it was just, it was a very intimate experience where you sit down with the same adult for 6 weeks in a row. You're looking at tailored instruction based off those specific needs of that group. You struggle because we can't replicate that September through June.
No, exactly.
But I think what it does tell us is if you can think outside of the box in terms of how we are teaching students and getting away from that 20th century model of sage on the stage, where it's just, I'm the teacher, I'm projecting information, you better listen to it and retain it and write it down. I'm gonna test you on it. Like, that doesn't work anymore. And we know that doesn't work anymore. So the sooner that I think K-12 can break away from that and start being much more innovative in how you are reaching these students instead of I'm soapboxing here, so I'm sorry, but instead of forcing them to meet the teacher where the teacher wants to be, adapting the instruction so the teacher meets the students where they are and compromising that relationship
Mhm.
so they meet in the middle, that's where the money is.
Because the students that were at that, they still slide. It's just because they're already ahead.
Yeah.
But then when they come back in, or maybe something that it could be, parents can help out during summertime or whatever, some things there, or some strategy.
Yeah. But I will, and I'll close with this, that I sit on the OD advisory committee for summer school and after school group initiatives. This past summer, ODE funded the state of Oregon at $30 million. The legislation funded $30 million for summer school statewide. The proposal that's going to get put forward right now is a $450 million investment over 5 years, which will be about $90 million per summer for 5 consecutive summers. If that gets approved, we're looking at about 3 times the amount of summer school money that would traditionally be allocated out to districts. We are always going to be in the top of the list of, well, not always. Traditionally, we were always. In a couple of years, we are not going to be always, but we are going to be recipients of summer school money. And so,
We use Western.
Yeah.
So
kids
with
and
that
things
higher
there.
amount, that means more children
theoretically,
attend?
yeah, because I mean, if,
Hire enough staff to do it.
yeah,
And we know that the one teacher to 20 kids is not a model we're gonna go back to. It doesn't work.
No.
That structure.
Yeah.
5 per teacher, I mean, obviously,
Yeah,
you could
we're
just
gonna make.
The numbers.
I love the structure, by the way. I
That's
love
pretty cool.
that you guys
Who-
instituted that and did it, and I'm
and I will say,
proud of you guys.
yeah, I will say that I don't know of another district in the state of Oregon that did this.
Yeah,
And I
it's
honestly,
only one.
I don't know
That
of
with
anybody else that
Blitz
does.
and
Yeah.
the summer school, I think we're the only one.
Oh, this is great.
So, the challenge will be, we used ESSER funds to do the Blitz. So, we'll see how it goes as we get into winter break and into winter and see where we're at. But I mean,
That really gives them a big head start.
yeah,
Oh, my goodness.
so.
Into their future, that's all.
Yeah.
And it's
We have ODEs coming for the literacy tour
Mhm.
in
next 2 weeks, I
2
think,
weeks.
something like that.
So they're gonna be looking at our literacy program and what we're doing. And
Yeah.
have you shared this summer data yet?
I have Dr. Williams, the director of ODE, has seen our
Wow.
slides.
Yeah.
So I think I mentioned that in September, then in August, I went down and I briefed Governor Kotek on what we did for summer school. And I had a meeting last week with Dr. Williams and some of her staff about summer school stuff.
They had to be amazed.
They are aware that we are unique in a good way,
You know what? This is all in a good way.
in a good way.
No, huh?
Everybody's aware that I'm unique. I don't know, but we collectively are unique in a good way.
We'll still keep you around. It's good. That's really cool. Okay. Let's see here. I think now, let's go with Mr. Amen and Mr. Pfaff. Let's start with the biliteracy seal. Is that work? Yeah. So I can figure out where my next other slide deck is.
No.
Hello.
Hello, my name is Ben Puff. I am the alternative education teacher at the high school. I'm here to request permission to move forward with the Jervis High School Seal of Literacy Plan that we have developed at the high school. And I have copies of that here for each of you, so. I have that. More than- Careful for myself. So the Oregon State Seal of Biliteracy is something that's been awarded by large and small districts throughout Oregon for many years. Every state in the nation has a biliteracy plan, and it's up to the schools and the districts themselves to put a plan in place for that. Superintendent Stevens has wanted us to begin this initiative for several years. I'm happy to report that we are ready to implement this plan, and we are in the process of doing so. We would like to do so with your blessing. Our OSSB plan is modeled after those from surrounding districts. It was heavily influenced by the Salem-Keizer plan. There are two primary sections to the plan. The first part involves students earning a biliteracy seal, gets affixed to their diploma. They also get a certificate awarded by the state. In order to earn the biliteracy seal, students must show proficiency in 2 or more languages. There's a biliteracy seal and there's also a multiliteracy seal if you have more than 2 languages. And by showing proficiency in those 2 languages, they get awarded the seal. The state sends us the seal and the state sends us the certificate, and we award those to the students at graduation. They must also fulfill all the other graduation requirements. They don't get the seal, of course, if they don't graduate. The second part of the plan involves students earning high school foreign language credits by showing proficiency in a language other than English. Obviously, in Jervis, we have a lot of students who speak other languages, and this is a great way for us to recognize those home cultures and to award those kids with credits for knowledge that they already have. In addition, sometimes our ELL kids struggle to make credits at school. So this is a way, as an alternative ed teacher, I see to make graduation more accessible to those populations. Students who are earning the high school foreign language credits do not have to show proficiency in English. What we are finding, however, is that the test contains some English components. And so we're concerned about our newcomers who don't have enough English to pass the test. So that's something we're still kind of looking at now. We currently have 21 kids who are interested in earning the biliteracy seal. 19 of these are Spanish speakers, 1 is a Russian speaker, and 1 is fluent in American Sign Language. We also have 4 Spanish speakers who will be pursuing the high school foreign language credits only, and we may be putting that part on pause because of the issues with the test. I'm super excited about this program. I think it's essential to benefit our populations in Jervis, to help out our foreign language population and to recognize them for their knowledge. I'm super excited and look forward to growing this program. I anticipate more students signing up as the word gets out. Our plan is to test kids in the fall and the spring every year and kind of keep this rolling. We're able to bank this, so if kids pass their assessments sophomore year, we're able to bank those and just keep them, and they'll get the biliteracy seal when they graduate. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
What does the assessment look like?
So there's a stamp test. It's online. It's on a computer. We're going to clear out the gym. We're going to put all the kids in there on a computer. That's for the foreign language. So if they're taking Russian or Spanish, they'll do an online test. We developed an in-house English assessment that we'll use. It's about 8 pages. All these tests have to cover 4 domains. So speaking, listening, reading, and writing, except for ASL, which doesn't have reading and writing. And so they have to show proficiency in all 4 of those modes.
And this is something they get as seniors, and then it would, so what are you, is there anything that's happening prior to the assessment? Like, are you working with younger kids, like somebody who speaks Spanish is a freshman and wants to get it done?
Yeah, so I'm partnering with the ESL teacher, and she's the one who's able to identify those populations for me and help me get the word out. Yeah, I don't have a lot of contact with those students in my role, so I rely on her. And as the rest of the school staff becomes more knowledgeable, we'll be able to reach more of those kids too.
And you said that if they earn credits in this, that also goes to with the ELLs?
Yeah, so they're foreign language credits.
Yep.
So ELLs, like if you came here from Mexico and you
Yep.
speak Spanish,
Yep.
we're gonna give you credit for that learning that you had, at your.
And that goes towards your credits to graduate.
Right, towards graduation.
That's awesome.
And it's significant. It's 2.5 credits of foreign language. If they test in the highest level,
Sure.
they get 2.5 credits of foreign language and half a credit of English language arts, which is huge.
Love that.
If they test a little lower, they get a little less credits. It's the whole.
But still, there's still credits to be had there.
And that scale's in the back of there.
How is this bad? How's this bad? I don't, no, I mean, well, I mean, they're asking for us. to
We hate
do
this.
I'm just trying to say, I don't know how this would, you would say no to this.
Yeah.
It has taken a lot of work to set up, right?
I'm
You
sure.
should see,
I'm
like,
sure.
I mean, I feel
100%,
like the
yeah.
organization behind it is intense.
I started researching this last year,
Yeah.
and I have a lot to learn
Yeah.
along the way.
Yeah, and other school districts around Venus,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, Salem does it, Portland does it,
No, but our
Marion does it,
small schools around us, like
Marion does it.
Woodburn does.
Woodward does this.
And I thought you kind of modeled it after that Salem Kaiser, okay,
Yep.
yeah.
My first year as VP, Ken was trying to get this going with Benoit, who was the Spanish teacher at the time. And it just didn't reach ground. And then it kind of, COVID hit, and then it got put on hold for a couple of years. And then just last year, our ELD teacher last year in Pop started kind of the preliminary thing on this. And then Mary, who's our new ELD teacher, who's fantastic. I mean, they've just ran with it.
Great.
Great, yeah.
Yeah, this is so great, especially with our population as
Yeah.
well. here.
It's like a no-brainer.
Yeah,
Yeah,
oh, for sure.
exactly.
I wish it was around.
And also for Russian students.
Yeah, I mean, no.
Yeah, and it's any language. Does not matter the language. It doesn't even have to be like a reported language, like that we have in books or something. It's just. We would have to devise an assessment at that point, but
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fantastic.
Perfect.
awesome.
So this doesn't necessarily require board action. If you don't have a problem with it, then it would just be a practice that we have at the high school. They'll put it in the curriculum guide and the handbook and all of that. Just-
Put the words in. We're good. Yeah.
Bob personally
you.
requested to come tell you guys.
Sure.
This is
I love
great.
it.
Okay.
Love it.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bob.
So many good things happening this year.
Yeah.
Hopefully, nice. Hold on. I have to go back to the Zoom meeting. Share. Then Andrew's gonna do the presentation on the equity.
So, yeah, so
Let me move this. Hold on.
So Creighton did goal number 1. I'm doing goal number 2 for the strategic plan, which is all about equity. So a reminder of the goal, cultivate equity by honoring diversity, using inclusive practices and supporting students to achieve their unique potential. So performance indicator 2A, we said educate students, staff, and families about the rich history and diverse culture of Jervis to help build a stronger sense of community. With that being said, when I remember doing this work, you know, we want to honor all the cultures of Jervis, okay? We know we have a large Hispanic population, et cetera. But it was really the idea around this was we want to honor all of Jervis. When you go to the football games and things like that, and we have community events, there is a sense of being of pride in this community. And it's not your ethnicity whatsoever. I mean, we are a community. So implementation measure 2A, each building will incorporate the shared vision, we are Jervis. In a beginning of the year school assembly, and the Jervis School District Equity Team will then produce 4 student videos. We started this process last year, November, January, March, and May, to share diverse family stories and culture. Videos will be published through email, social media platforms, and district websites. So we blast them out throughout the entire community. So that's like elementary, middle, and high are all going to have one for each one of those months. And so those are the videos from last year that were created by Raul, who has moved on. So right now, we're kind of just going to produce them at the building level, you know, with our iPhones and things like that and doing our own editing. But it's all, every video is going to kind of end with the message, we are Jervis. School spirit at the high school is not real high right now, I'll be honest. We had homecoming assembly today. But we're trying to kind of feed that message in all the buildings. We even talked, and I know I'm getting ahead of myself here, but even with the bond and all that kind of stuff, having that message in each one of the buildings, we are Jervis, we are Jervis, we are Jervis. That's in yellow and green and blue or whatever. So that's goal number one. Performance indicator 2B. The GSD equity team will train all district staff to use the equity lens and facilitate its use in various district and building decision-making teams. We made an attempt to do this last year. I'll be honest, I don't think we did it with fruition. So we kind of continued with this. So the implementation measures, the GSD equity team will train staff during in-service week in August to use the equity lens, which we did. We did do that. And will then facilitate its use in at least 3 different decision-making teams in each building by November 1st, which is coming up, February 7th and May 2nd. I can't speak for the elementary or the middle, but I know that we're doing PLC work next week in our building, and that's when that'll be the first time that we're kind of roll this out with that kind of work at the high school. But yeah, it's really handing people the document, which I have here. I'm sure you guys remember seeing this. And actually trying to walk people through, use this to do this and make decision making. So, and that's just another slide of what the equity lens looks like. And then 2C, the Jervis School District Welcome Center will help new students and families to communicate their story, interests, and needs with school staff. So the Welcome Center will implement a new intake interview process in August, which happened, that helps students and families share important information about them with building staff and review this new intake process with involved district and building staff and make any adjustments as needed. So generally speaking, a student comes into our district, we get their CUME file and we look at it and that's all we get. We don't know anything. We don't know your history. We don't know anything about you. And so the concept is we're going to ask you a few questions about who you are, what's your background, what do you like, who are you? So we've only had one equity meeting so far this year and only 3 people were able to attend. Myself, Dusty, and Mercedes, because everyone else had other obligations because it was really busy that day. We have another meeting. I can't remember when it is. It's like next week or the week after. One of the big things we want to do is take those questions and dust them off and really kind of look at them and try to see, like, are these the correct questions we should be asking? Another thing that we've noticed is we want it to be a fluid process to make sure that those questions hit the buildings when the students come. Like, is Becky Miller getting it? Is Maria getting it at the middle school? So they can actually look at that, and Tony and I can look at it, and Dusty at the elementary. And so we have at least a glimpse as to who that student is before they walk through the building.
Yeah, so the goal would be you ask the questions at the Welcome Center and then that information goes to the
Right.
secretaries there and then they disperse.
But I think there's going to be a lot of discussion on, we don't want the questions to be too intrusive.
Yeah.
Right? Or too offensive. Because that's not good. Welcome to Drew. We're gonna ask you totally personal stuff. So I think it's a discussion that the team wants to have on making the questions appropriate and making sure we have a streamlined process. That's a part of our intake.
Are these gonna be questions like to the parents of what does your child, like, how were they in their other school or friends, or will it be like, what are the questions?
I tried to get a copy of the questions to bring today. I don't have one in front of me.
I do have a copy.
You do have.
Yeah, we.
It's on the, I'm committee as well.
Yeah, I'm on the committee and we actually took that as a discussion with our office managers to provide their input on how to handle that. And we actually got pretty good input, but I wasn't at the first meeting, equity meeting, because I just couldn't. So the office managers, suggested, why don't you have, that questionnaire and, have it available for the parent to actually put thought to it and not just, be rushed when they're trying to register their child. like Becky Miller was saying that she really loved it, that she did something similar for her elementary kid. She said it's, just holding the parent accountable to make them aware that their kids' education is really important. And you're, collaborating with the teachers or, whoever at the schools to be able to let them know more about your child.
Yeah.
And, just, I don't know, it could be behavioral problems or I
Why
don't
don't
know,
we get a
whatever.
copy of the questions and put it in the board packet next month?
Yeah.
They're like, what do you, how does your child learn best?
Yeah.
Right, what gives your child anxiety? What,
Will you be sure to include them in the board pack?
Yeah.
No, and so, I mean, honestly, when you think, so using the equity lens for big decision-making in each building, the videos are just cool
Yeah.
and they're attractive and people, it just gives people, a good visual on who our student body is. And yeah, it's like doing the intake questions. It's like, you're not just a number here. I mean, I've said it multiple times. We have so many kids coming in from Salem and Woodburn and other places, and they love it here.
Dusty put the questions in here.
I just didn't know if you'd be able to read them.
Well, what languages? Can you share some of the academic strengths and struggles of your child?
Can you describe
Describe your student's personality, any behavior support?
I'm just thinking from like a child's perspective, if you've ever had to switch schools from, from a new school, I've done that, like 3 times and you don't want to talk about yourself. So when your mom puts it down.
Yeah.
You kind of can keep a track on that.
And I mean, Fenya has told me, you can be a bit abrasive. She tells me that about me. You can be a bit abrasive, babe. And I'm like, so I don't know if I'm gonna offend someone, some kids and families are very sensitive and I don't have a lot in common with them, so I think it's a good process to try to make sure we're doing the right.
You'll get there. It's hard work.
Yeah, data's always good, so how could it be bad? No, this is great.
Guys have any questions? Cool. All right, thank you.
Thank you. You guys can leave if you want. Or you'd like to stay longer. Karen's like, can I leave?
Sorry, Karen. Thank you guys.
You all.
Gonna go over a few things that I kind of touched on in my report. My part starts on page 29. And I think some of my pages in there aren't numbered. So I'll just say the page after 29, which should be pretty. And it's the budget summary. Under the income, other category, you kind of go along till you get to the column year to date. See a big figure that wasn't there last month, which is $31,556,026.95. That includes our bond proceeds of $28,130,000 and our bond premium of $3,426,026.95. So that is what constitutes that figure in there. Then if you turn to the next page, this is our year-to-date revenues, and this is general fund. It also includes our charter school. So I just wanted to update you on that because this is kind of a nice report, the way it breaks out our state school fund formula funds. The charter school projected that for this year, they were going to have 418 students. And I was just informed that they actually are down to 342 students. So that's 76 lower. But we projected at 829, and we're currently, now, this was about a week ago, I checked, we're at 908. Are we still right about there?
Yeah.
So we are 79 higher. So there's no adjustment needed to the state school fund, but the charter school is going to start getting about 40,000 less a month, and we're going to be getting that amount more for us. So good for us. I mean, they're not happy that their numbers didn't go to where they thought they were going to go, but they're still working on, trying to pull in other students who might not be doing as well in the traditional setting. And then when you look down here on the same page, there at the bottom, there's the general fund revenues, general fund expenditures. So in the general fund revenues, you'll see the previous year amount is like 7.8 million, whereas the current year amount is only 4.759 million. That's because the beginning fund balance is included in the prior year. We haven't rolled it in yet. I took a peek at it today and we are sitting at 2,050,000. There's still another little adjustment I want to do and that will bring it up a little bit more. So we're really looking to be closer to, you know, if it was in there at about 6.8 million. And you can see that too, when you go up a little bit to top total operating revenues, beginning fund balance. You can see it's under the previous year, but under the year to date, it's a zero because it hasn't been. So the next page is our general fund expenditures, and under the salaries, regular salaries are all salaries that are funded from the general fund. And they're reflecting to be about 12.87% higher this year at this time than it was last year. Keep in mind with that the COLAs are all in place. Everybody's taken their steps. But in addition, when we started last year, we increased staff as we got into the year and had our higher numbers. And so we had some staff increases that we did not get rid of for this year. So that's why that's showing higher than what just the COLA step would be. But we have the funding for it, so it's all good. So, and that is pretty much all I wanted to point out. Are there any questions?
Thank you. Thank you.
I guess you can go too.
Stay a little longer.
Okay. So for my report, I just wanted to highlight a couple of things. In first relation to the social media threats, I wanted to share with you that we had one student that was arrested, and we had one student who was cited. He was of his age. He was cited, not arrested. Because the FBI was involved, and that's how we were able to track down exactly who did what. Neither threat was credible, meaning that they didn't have a plan. There was no pieces put in place to do anything violent at the schools. Both students say that they made these threats because they didn't want to go to school the next day. So what I'm thankful for, Jervis Police and the FBI did a really good job in terms of tracking this down. I think it showed, we've shared with students, we've caught the people, there are multiple consequences. And when we say, don't do this, or we're going to come and find you, we mean it. So I think that has gone a long way into getting kids to think that maybe that's not the best idea. Maybe if I don't want to school, maybe I'll just go ahead and just skip. Try a more traditional way.
Were they expelled? Were they suspended?
There are
I had
school
all-
consequences. I can't really say exactly what those were. They're severe for both.
I had a lot of backlash with parents that were like,
Yeah, well, the other piece to that is that I don't know why the Jervis Police Department was telling me that the Marion County DA did not want us telling what in general the consequences were. Like, well, why did Molalla or Woodburn get to say that their students were arrested? Like, how come, what's the difference? It's the same DA. And I could never get an answer from the police department as to why that was the perspective. I contacted the Marion County DA and they said that was not the case. So if you want me to put something out that says, hey, now that the dust is kind of settled, this is what I can share. I can share kind of more general.
Yes.
I would like that. I'm thinking even the fact that you would say that the DA is not allowing us to
Yeah.
get more information, because I have very strongly worded emails
And
from parents and I didn't know what to say.
well, it sounds like, okay,
Like
There was an
upset because
arrest.
they didn't know what happened.
Because of what kids are doing and putting, because it like strikes fear into the entire family,
Mhm.
right? Like
Yeah.
the whole family is afraid and you're scared to send your
Mhm.
kid to school. And their children are then afraid to go to school. And they just want to make sure that their child feels safe to go back the following week. And I mean, you know, if they know that they were caught and there were certain
Mhm.
repercussions,
Mhm.
they feel better about that, like that somebody's watching after their kids.
is it up to the DA to press charges?
Yeah, they have all of the information and so
And so
that
they're-
it's up to them to whether or not they're going to pursue
Okay.
legal action.
Yeah, no, there's just a rash of these happening.
Yeah.
Right at the beginning, and like even today, one of my friends just called me and said that one of the kids in Portland came in with a metal bat and beat another kid. So like, and I hear these kinds of things over and over and over again.
Like
And
my coworker stopped somebody in Salem, they were beating up a child right off of, and it like just awful.
we have to, like here,
Yeah.
we have to make a stand and let
Mhm.
people know that we are not gonna tolerate
Mhm.
this.
And I think that's like.
And we have to hold the kids accountable and have, you know, conversations with the community about what we're going to do to keep everyone safe. Because just like you said, I know a bunch of kiddos that didn't go in because they were,
Oh, yeah, they're.
who are very anxious anyway and have anxiety and all kinds of stuff, and they were just terrified.
Well, in the week that it happened, I think there was like 3 school shootings in the
There was.
news.
It was like crazy.
And it was just, I don't know, sorry, I get like, I
Yeah,
get
so-
emotional about it because I think it's very.
But I think once if we do get this in and the consequences that happen and what all entailed with to get to this, if nothing else, it'll open eyes of parents that, hey, you got to attention a little more to what my kid's social media is presence and what they're doing and that, because I would not want anybody, the FBI comes to my house just, and without me knowing that my kid is the one that was sent out to set the damn, thing in motion and things there. I mean, that would just be a terrible, terrible thing. And so I think if parents know that this is, we're not playing. This is very serious stuff is happening and it's a terrible world we live in, but this is what we have to make things feel safe. And I think if we portray that we are
Mhm.
on top
Okay.
of things, I think that would be.
I'll craft a letter,
Yeah, and I put it on our
put it on
social
social
media.
media, email it, website, all of that.
But nobody was expelled, correct?
I can't,
And say it all.
She can't say anything.
Okay.
we have the tool up to expulsion. And I can tell you that when I'm faced with significant distressing behaviors that involve drugs or safety, I require your school administrators to take a student to expulsion. So. And then if, let's say a student get expelled, or they had some other kind of lesser consequence, they have the right to come to the board and ask for you to overturn my decision or alter the decision or whatever. That would be the only way that you would know exactly what happened unless the parent decided to come and tell their business right here.
Right. Okay, so in the communications with the community, you won't be able to disclose what.
What I'll do is I will say, please know, just like what I just said
Yeah,
here.
so something like that. Okay, good, awesome.
Okay, so there's that.
Crazy world. we live in.
It is, yes,
It is, but it also breaks my heart because sometimes, I mean, we all make mistakes.
yes.
We all make mistakes and we do poor judgment at times. And sometimes these kids just don't understand the severity of
They're
that.
teenagers.
Yeah,
They're teenagers.
And yet,
But it's
you don't wanna
unfortunate because we
totally
you
divert
can't
their
ignore- you
course
can't
just
ignore
because
it.
of-
yeah, it's a.
It's hard.
Mhm.
So on to the next hard thing, elections. So, you have a packet at your table seat that, the first part of it is, it's stapled, it's titled Student Activism and Political Activity. So, superintendents have been involved in different virtual training sessions with COSA and other school, we're all talking. Some districts are obviously more politically active than others, right? Some student bodies are protesting and walking out all the time, and others, it's not a thing. But we don't want to be caught flat-footed. So I looked at the documents that have been being shared, and so we kind of stole good ideas that fit in with your board policy and kind of our practice here in terms of what we, what our values are. And so next week, staff is going to have a training or a little in-service by their building principals that talks about like, how do we address this upcoming election season? It's very possible we won't know who won the election until the end of the week or maybe even the following week. And then leading up to the inauguration it could be volatile. So we have a student activism and expectation flyer, which is grounded in your board policy. And we have then the backside staff guidelines, political activity in the workplace. There's a training deck, a PowerPoint that I created for staff, for principals to use with staff. And in one of the slides, they have the right to talk about their beliefs, but I asked them to please remain neutral. It would be better if when a kid leaves your class for a discussion, they have no idea how you feel about an issue. Because your role as the educator, like if you take a stance, there will be some kids that will align with you and other kids that don't. And then the kids that don't are going to feel unsure of, are you still my person? Do I come to you? Like that, we just don't want to create any question for the kid about who's there for them. The teacher is always there for them. So, and then so the concept is, the approach is, how do we invite people into the conversation, meaning that everybody gets to have their opinion, as long as it's free from racist comments, harassment, sexist, all of those, hate speech, none of that. Just because somebody expresses an opinion doesn't require you to have a response to it. We're going to practice being adults now.
We're not on social media.
We're going to practice the idea that it's okay for you and your friends to not agree on topics and still be friends, to still operate within a classroom, to still recognize that we all get to have a moment in time where we say what we feel and what we think. So that's the approach we're going to try to take. I think that our kids are, because most of them have grown up together for so long, they have those relationships, and so it's harder to be really unkind and unthoughtful to someone you've known since kindergarten as compared to when you go to a school of 3,000 people and you don't even know any of these people.
Yeah.
So, dress code. So there's been case law where, there's the build the wall. And that is actually, if you tell a person that they cannot wear a shirt like that, that's actually a violation of their free speech, because that phrase in and of itself, it is not what's going to create violence or disruption. Now, if you added profanity to it or identified a race of people or something, that becomes hate speech. But so I'm in the guidelines, it's asking teachers, staff to look at what is the message, and then does it fit into hate speech? Does it have, or is it just you find it offensive, but there's nothing that, it's not profane, it's not violence, it's not drugs, it's
You just don't like it.
you just don't like it. There's a lot of things we don't like. We don't have to comment on it every time. So, if our kids decide to walk out, there's board policy on how students are to engage in protests and walkouts. They can't leave campus. They leave campus because we're a closed campus and they're considered unexcused. And that puts them in jeopardy of being able to participate in after-school sports that day. Or maybe they'll have detention, whatever you get when you leave campus without permission. And there's a whole policy about how you conduct yourself. So I'm hoping that it's just, we're being proactive and we're not gonna need it, but better to have it and not need it than to not have it and need it.
Right.
So if you look through these and you have questions, just throw me an email and let me know.
I guess my only question would be is everybody's entitled to their own opinion, but the teachers are not like pushing the agenda.
It
one way
should
or
not be,
another.
no, in the slide deck and in here as well, it says there to remain neutral. Like they couldn't be saying, oh, this candidate is this, like it can't be, it has to be objective and it has to be within the context of what they're teaching. So if I'm teaching a foods class, there's really no reason for me to be talking politics.
Right.
Right? If I'm the social studies
I was
teacher,
gonna say,
maybe
that's
I'm-
the only time
No.
that really it could be
Yeah.
brought up, but it could be like, I mean, it can't be.
no,
specifically
it
on-
could be, like if they're gonna talk about the January 6th, what happened? It would be very appropriate for the teacher to talk about, well, on that day, this is where the electoral ballots were being counted, and it's a very serious act of Congress to do this. And, what was the purpose of picking that day? Why did they pick January 5th? Why did they pick January 7th? Because the 6th was the day they were ratifying the vote. And then, what it meant to the disruption, not who was wrong, who was right.
Right.
None
Get
of
the
that,
information out.
just the information. Just in the context of how does our government run? What are the checks and balances?
That's
What's the
the
popular
only thing
vote?
like that should be brought up, I think,
Yeah,
is
Yeah.
why our Congress is there.
Yeah.
Like nothing,
Yeah.
nothing else to do with it. That's how I feel.
how do we become a two-party system? How come independent candidates have a hard time breaking into
Mhm.
two? I mean, it's all, everything that's happening right now can also be related to historically in other times when there has been great political unrest.
Mhm.
So you don't have to single out any one candidate. You could talk about political unrest in our country.
And what do you do when you get complaints that a teacher is trying to have their own agenda? and
Well-
there's students who complain about that.
So, we would follow it like we follow the process for a complaint policy. So if they'd have to start with the building principal and go from there, and then it could, in theory, work its way up to us. It would be investigated. You interview kids and ask context and just like a regular investigation. And then, we have to follow the collective bargaining agreement and interview them and give them notice and
Well, hopefully our adult teachers are, that's why we have adults as
Yep.
teachers and not teens.
yeah, so I'm hoping for the best. So,
Yes.
like I said, if you have questions after you kind of read through this, let me know. And we are gonna, after the teachers get trained next week, I am gonna put this out for parents to know, like, this is
It'll be on
what
social
you
media.
have seen and not seen. This is what this is our approach, inviting people into the conversation, be respectful, show kindness.
And if your child brings something up, you just-
So you're gonna post it on social media?
And on our website. Yeah.
Perfect.
And it'll go out after next Wednesday because the teachers get their training next Wednesday during early release.
Did the newsletter just come out? Like,
Yes.
yeah,
I got mine in the mail today.
okay, my mom read it and came to me and said, whoever's doing this is doing an excellent job.
Oh.
So I wanted to give those kudos
Oh,
to whoever
Yeah,
it is that
yeah.
we,
Kelly,
yeah.
Kelly
are
Bledsoe.
partnering with.
Yeah, that's awesome. Good. Yeah, for the newsletter, it just came out this week, I guess, and right, if you got it.
Yeah,
you got
I
it.
haven't seen it, but she got it.
So the
Just
plan
wait for
for
it.
that is that, the next newsletter comes out in December, but in the month of November, I want, every week in November, well, 3, separate one pagers to go out that highlight something great about a school. So the feedback we got was, the newsletter is great, but I have an attention span of 45 seconds. I want like a blurb. I'm like, okay, we'll get you a blurb.
No, those are good.
And so there'll always be something coming out. I mean, it's hard right now because there's so much political junk coming out, like all the junk mail,
Yeah,
And you're gonna get into holiday mail, and so, waste some money and they're not gonna read it. But we'll get some out.
Yeah, thank you.
Uh-huh. Okay, so then, student searches. So, I had included the policy in the AR. I'm just proposing to adjust some language in the, AR, which doesn't require board approval, but I wanted to be sure it was something that you could support. So our vaping sensors are working.
Hmm.
What's also working is that our kids are getting smarter about how to hide their vaping devices. So they're, stashing them. Well, Doug has torn bathrooms apart looking for any hidey holes because the sensors will go off. They'll do the regular search, fill your pockets out. And they can't find anything. They look at the camera. They didn't see the kid drop anything off anywhere. They didn't take a backpack in with them or a purse. And so they're like, okay, well, they're hiding them in their undergarments,
Oh, my God.
And so clearly we're not going to have administrators do undergarment searches. And so, what we learned is that many schools use wands, like if you go to the Rose Garden, you get sometimes a wand, right?
They're important things.
And it, will detect metal. So if I want, Jenny, do you have anything? And you're like, no. But then I wand you and it beeps. I'm like, you're beeping. And well, there's nothing there. Okay, we're calling your parent now. And your parent will come and get you and either convince you to turn over whatever device is making you beep, or they will have to take you home. And then the next day when you come back, you will be wanded again. You don't get to come into the building until you're wanded and your bag's checked. And so we'll figure that's the next step. So take a look at the language. If you don't have any feedback right now, fine. But you could email me or text me or call me if there's something that you're unsure about. Because again, it's AR, it doesn't require board approval, but we can always adjust it. And of course, run it back past high school administration. They, is this doable? They believe it is. So.
Is that basically where you're seeing the most of it is in the high school and nothing in the middle school?
In the middle school a little bit, yeah. Yeah, in the middle school a little bit. And so what I can share on this topic is that there's been some students who have been vaping marijuana. And so those students were brought to an expulsion hearing. And so sometimes you can do what's called you're expelled, but I'm going to put it in abeyance, meaning that you've been expelled, but I'm going to give you these conditions. And if you agree to do these conditions, we'll set the expulsion aside. If you violate the conditions, then the expulsion goes into effect and you're done. So what we've been doing is a drug and alcohol assessment. You have to share the results and you have to follow the recommendation. And then if we need to support you in like getting to appointments or whatever, we'll work with you to do that. And then it's, backpack check. You can't bring anything with you. You have to do, X, Y, and Z. We've had, that's obviously the option that the parents prefer.
Yeah.
Being expelled is not a great choice.
No, in those classes, did they go over the bad part of
Yeah.
vaping and what it
I mean,
actually can
so
do?
when you take a drug and alcohol assessment, it comes back and it lets you know, it will say, based on your responses, you have an addiction issue, you have early addiction, you have curiosity, and based on how you're testing or what your rating is, this is what we recommend you do.
Right.
Education and treatment.
But also the dangers of it.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's
So-
always in the
so
education,
it
there's
would,
always the
You
dangers.
know, show the lungs and
Mhm.
what exactly it does in the brain.
Just
Yeah.
today, OHA sent something out on.
Yes, that's in the
38.
Division 22 standards. We'll talk about that.
And so that I
Mhm.
think is helpful too,
Yeah.
because we have had such a fentanyl crisis.
Yeah.
I mean, we lost 75 students in 2021.
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
know, not
Yeah.
here, but
Right,
like
yeah.
Oregon.
Oregon,
Just
yeah.
saying, yeah, it's
That's the
Yeah.
problem.
yeah. What do you do if a parent, when you're asking to obtain permission to search or do whatever, and they are combative and don't want that to happen, what do we do when
You
it?
take your kid home and your kid doesn't get to come back.
Okay,
Because we get to set, we are required to educate you, but we get to decide what that environment looks like. We have a great online charter school.
good,
We
okay,
can, and you will get a computer.
Mhm.
good,
Yeah,
okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have to have a hard line
yeah,
right now.
yeah. Okay, so there's that. I think that's all I have for my report then.
All right,
That's all I've been doing.
that's all you did? Thank you.
There's more.
All right.
Wait, there's more. Okay, so let's see here. Your consent agenda is revised, so it's a separate piece of paper there. Is that where we're at?
Well, we have the board focus.
Oh,
on that.
sorry. Yes, Sandra.
Go, Sandra.
I actually need your input. Guess I'm privileged, to be asked to speak at OSBA. I'm a little nervous because I have never done it in such a, like group that's gonna be by myself. I have done it on a panel, but not, here you go, yeah, go ahead and do it. So I just thought, I have my own input on, things that I see as the secretary, board secretary, that things have worked well with our relationship as, board members and secretary and superintendent, but I would like to get your input before I start doing my homework and doing my slides.
Like,
So what do you feel that has strengthened our relationship as a board, as a whole?
I think one of the great things is that first of all, I like the texting to tell us, hey, meeting coming up or whatever that may be.
communication.
Yeah, and I can ask, hey, really need to see the board packet and can I get 2 copies? And you're always so gracious and get all of that. Your work ethic is amazing. You always follow up and close any loop, if there's something going on. And you're just very kind and easy to approach. And I think those things are so important to a good working relationship with all of us. And so I just really appreciate all the effort that you give to us all the time and how you go beyond the trainings that you take or the things that you participate in, sharing your knowledge with others, all of that. So I think that communication is one of the most important things and you do that beautifully.
Okay, and I agree. And I think it's just, Dandy is our role model. I mean, because since she started, communication and, transparency, they are just like the
Yes.
top.
The transparency has been fantastic here. It really has. Ever since I joined the board, that's one of the things that I appreciate most that Dandy and you have been doing to help our.
Well, she takes the full load. When she became superintendent, I'm like, oh, this is easy. I can do board secretary. Because she does the majority of it and I really appreciate it because it just triggers down, to
Yes,
much work.
which is,
Yeah.
yeah, but doing the executive work for folks there's a lot to it. And you keep us all running correctly and I appreciate that. And yes, Dandy, absolutely, that leadership start. Good job.
So communication, yes, but also whenever we've had, I'm just gonna take this for example, page numbers on our thing here. I mean, we would always struggle for that kind of thing and things there, and when we brought that up, you were just like, yeah, all right, we can add the page numbers to it. Nobody had ever thought of doing something like that. I mean, my God, I mean,
Yeah.
truly, I mean.
We have common sense.
How, if we have something that comes up, you deal with it and it makes our life so much easier and things there. So, yeah, no, I think communication is the biggest thing and it's just willing to help us whenever we need help. I guess would be another
You go
fine
above
quality.
and
So,
beyond.
yes,
Definitely.
yes, 100%.
And you're constantly learning.
Yeah, and I think, that's, I guess that's my personality. I get bored if I don't You learn something new, so I always like to challenge, so. I love it.
Yeah, so if there's a list of something you want us to
Yeah.
check off on of what you do well, then we will happy to start.
Well, I was
everything else
hoping,
for
I'm like, maybe one of the board members would like to go with me, it's for an hour, so if you're free,
you. On,
November 7th. So that's November 7th from.
that's at the thing at
So that would be in Portland, the waterfront.
it's the seventh.
That's the conference.
The conference.
So if any of you are
But that-
free,
But that's a
Yeah,
Thursday.
already.
yeah.
Darn it. Cause I would have actually really liked to do that.
You're right down.
I think it, would be a really good experience to,
Do you know, can you just send me the time? Because
Yeah.
I'm about,
are you close by?
I'm about 8 blocks away from there.
No.
Yes,
I can
absolutely.
help with any outline you might want to do too.
And I think that would be even more powerful for the, board secretaries.
Love
that
that.
attend.
Yeah, just send me the times, the
Okay.
time you're gonna be there.
And I
And
can
then,
help with
whatever.
anything.
Huh?
I can help with any of that, any outline, any.
She'll put in extra words for you.
I'm not doing, all I'm doing is being a person there to support her.
I thought you're supposed to say.
No, you're supposed to say
You're supposed to
something.
say All the lovely things.
Yeah.
She does
Oh,
for us.
I mean, I
so
gotta
let them-
speak is what you're asking me to.
Yeah,
We
it
can
would
both
help.
get Together, yeah, that would be good.
I do not mind. I don't, I would love to say. pretty
It's like
things.
when you cough, I
100%.
That-
Oh, you put it down on writing, I will say it out loud.
Okay, there we go.
There we go. I love that.
Yes.
It was meant to be.
Use it, remember.
Very good.
Village.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right.
Now it's your consent.
Now we-
agenda.
Okay.
The new one with no red stuff on it.
Yeah. Did anyone have anything before I make a motion? I didn't see anything.
Good to see Nikita coming back to help out. Why not?
And the co-op for wrestling, I like that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's some, yeah, okay. Then I move that the Jervis District #1 Board of Directors approve the consent items as listed in mass, 7.1, 7.2, 7.3, 7.4, and 7.5.
We have a motion.
Second.
We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Very good.
Where do we go?
Okay, on to action. The second meetings for H welfare and the headlights. I can't believe we can't. I don't want to think it.
Is there a reason why,
So,
we don't, maybe we do, maybe I missed it, don't do a
Headlights.
treatment? Even if we keep them here, that we don't do like, put on a treatment?
Well, I don't think that there's anything legally stopping us from doing that, but we would probably have to ask permission, right? From a parent, we couldn't just.
Yeah,
I mean,
providing that would
But I
be
was
great.
gonna say though, like, have you, I mean, my kids have had lice. It's pretty intensive, like to do a treatment at school would be hard. I would
I
imagine.
think, but it's almost like a help, because in this, it says, and may provide information on treatment, the student will be allowed to remain in school. So, so does this mean that we would provide information on what to do since they have it? And that the may means we may only do that, and then they still are allowed to be in school,
Yeah,
correct?
we can't exclude for head lice.
Yeah.
Or I was thinking like, I mean, can't we like provide
The kids?
the kits?
That's
Oh,
very-
they're expensive.
That's what I'm
Yeah,
suggesting.
I can,
Like.
well, I think Creighton, you know, he applied for that health grant. We haven't heard about what that is. I'm sure that there could be some money in there for that. Or that we can talk to the nurses about seeing if there's,
Or like
access to free
yeah.
resources.
It's something that if
Yeah.
they do, that they
And
can
we,
walk away.
yeah, I can ask that. I mean,
I mean,
it's
it's like,
primarily.
you don't have $15, you don't have,
Yeah.
it's $15 and you have to go to the store to buy it.
Do
It's
that.
expensive.
And especially with littles.
Yeah.
that Spreads like wild.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's like the whole family gets it.
Okay.
And then you gotta
So-
do all the washing and
You know,
Yeah,
but at least getting them started with the
But
kit. would be
I just
I'll-
remember when my kids were little and we had no money, I had to go buy, I was like, it was a lot.
Yeah.
I came
I'll-
from there,
I'll-
believe me.
Yeah, so we would
There
do like
was a lot.
hydrogen peroxide or rubbing alcohol or something, and I think my child almost died. Yeah. It's all reporters here. Don't write that. Make the video. Okay, she's 27. Okay, she's fine. She's fine, she made it. Oh my God, no, the money.
If
was
nothing else,
a
we could
deal,
just
so I
offer
think
to the.
It was for
parents.
us.
Yes,
Say, so,
yeah.
hey, if you need something like this,
Yep,
this here
you
it
can
is,
offer.
if not, here's where you can go.
Okay, I will find out.
Or a jar of mayonnaise and put it on your head.
Rubbing alcohol. Yeah, it's a bang over their head.
Wow.
I will find.
So
Yeah.
do we need a motion to, or is that what's happening there?
There's a
That's, you
motion.
passed it with the policy.
Okay, great,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
that's right. So,
So
What
what
else
is,
do
so
we need?
46, there's a, for the second reading motion there. Is that not, we have to worry about that?
Oh, didn't you pass it?
No,
Sorry,
we haven't-
yes.
We haven't done that.
You
one.
haven't done that
We
one,
just did
sorry.
consent items.
The consent item, sorry.
46
I moved
46
it.
has both the student welfare
Page
and
46.
headlights.
okay, thank you. That's okay. With that exception of putting that piece in there, can we do the motion then?
Mhm.
Okay, great. I move that the Jervis School District _1 Board of Directors adopt and or approve changes to policy JH and JHCCF as shown in action item 10-24-8.1 with a minor inclusion.
Yeah, I'll research what we can do, so you can say, and I'll get back to you.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
We have a motion.
I second it.
We have a second. Any more discussions?
Aye.
All in favor?
I
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Hey,
I'd like to propose that we look at the resolution for the transportation. Because the Division 2 standards are going to take a little bit of time. I know, I think Rita's in the back there, so. So, it is a separate stapled document on your table. No, it's called the transportation resolution.
I thought it was
included.
It's in this little,
Yeah, it was included in the original packet. This just has the consent with it.
yeah.
Uh,
So, basically, we provide, transportation for Sacred Heart students as long as, they're already kind of on an existing route. So it's not like we're going out of our way to bus those kids. This is something you have done previously. Rita, is there anything that you wanted to say about it?
Not really, just want to make sure it gets done.
Yep,
Sacred Heart.
yeah,
Yeah. We've done this before.
uh-huh, yeah. So we just need to have a resolution, do it yearly if there's a need. So there is a need this year.
Cool.
So,
I move that does anyone have an issue?
No.
I move that the Jervis School District #1 Board of Directors can present transportation resolution as presented by Mrs. Stevens.
We have a motion.
Second.
We have a second. Any more discussion? All in favor?
I
Aye. All right.
think I missed the word approve.
Division 22?
Yep. So you have the picker packet on your, table there. I have this PowerPoint. So this is the required yearly report. And, it's not going to give me fits. So, come on. The. It's blank. There it is. Okay. So we're required to have this submitted to ODE by November 15th, I think. So that's why we're doing this now. As a refresher on this, what happens is that in August, Sandra gets the form from ODE and then I put it into a Google Doc and we share it with all the principals, administrators, directors, so that they can then put in the feedback as to, are we in compliance? Are we doing what we're supposed to do? So this is just not me saying, yeah, I think we're good. We keep this as a running document, and they went back to last year's document to compare their answers to this year. And I find it to be a very helpful tool for us to assess, like, how are we doing as a district? And so the idea behind the Division 22 standards is that the Oregon legislature or the State Board of Education says, like, these are the minimum standards we need to meet. This is not they call it the ceiling, it's the minimum. We're always welcome to do more. But we have to at least say we are complying with these standards. And there are more than 50 rules in the different standards. There's teaching and learning, health and safety, district performance and accountability, and human resources and staffing. So, and then within each of those, there's, several other smaller components that we have to attest to. Yeah, it takes a while to fill out. Like, I mean, you can see there's a lot of information here. But it also, what it does is when you require your principals or administrators to do these things, then it solidifies to them that these standards are important. The state of Oregon is asking you to, as your professional responsibility, that you're ensuring kids are getting this. And when we get to the local performance assessment, I'll tell you what happened with staff on that. But it's also, it's our accountability model. And so if we go through and say, yeah, we're in compliance, but we never give any evidence, or we don't really analyze, are we in compliance or not, then we lose credibility if we can't justify what we're doing. So we have local accountability. I'm sharing with you right now with what we're doing and how we've done and what we need to do to get better. And then I have to submit it to the state as well. And then they do review it, and they email you back, and they have meetings with you if they don't like your answers or if you're not in compliance. So it just doesn't sit. It's for Division 22 in the state of Oregon. Like I said, it's not the ceiling, it's the baseline, so that we're across the state, whatever school you're in, whatever district you're in, we're all operating with the same understanding of what are the standards that our kids who graduate from Oregon should be, what they should be exposed to, what level of education they should get, what the content area should be, their learning environment. So if we're out of compliance, we own it. We say we're out of compliance. I like to say partially compliant, but that's not, they don't like that.
They don't want that one.
They say you're either in compliance or not in compliance. And then we have to have a plan for how we're going to address it. So in the 6 years I've been here, the 5 years I've done this, there's always been a year where we're out of compliance. First couple of years.
Wasn't it?
First couple of years, it was bad, right? It was really because we hadn't adopted curriculum. It was, and so as we're getting further into this, there's fewer and fewer things that we're out of compliance. And it's also a good way for us to be able to track new legislation that's going, oh, that's coming up.
Yeah.
The opioid education piece, which you'll see we're already ahead of the game. We already knew about it, but. As a review, last year at this time, I shared that our PE minutes at the elementary school were not meeting the requirement. 150 minutes per week were required. We were only getting 115. Knowing that we were out of compliance, ODE helped us figure out what are we going to do. They gave us some contacts in other schools to go talk with and see how they did it. We asked our PE teacher to put together some lesson plans that could be easily implemented in the classroom. So it's stand up and stretch, let's breathe. It doesn't have to be like go out and run a lap.
Yeah.
It's mindfulness, breathing, anxiety control, meditation. And so we're now able to provide an additional 50 minutes of PE in the classroom every week. And those brain breaks, we call them brain breaks, really do help kids, littles especially, to kind of get my wiggles out so I can sit down and listen. And then I also reported last year that on our local performance assessment, we were not doing these. So we started PD in the spring of 2023, and we were only able to implement partially for last year because I don't know why the teachers keep saying, you didn't tell us this. Look, I know I told you this because it's in my strict report. Online, I told you. So, for this year, there's still some waivers. So, the essential skills were waived when COVID happened. So it's still a waiver. We don't have to do that, meaning kids don't have to pass SBAC and they don't have to have a portfolio, but they still have to do, let me go back. They still have to do the local performance assessments, which is what was screwing up our staff because they were confusing essential skills with local performance. Like, no, you still have to do local performance, which is all in your curriculum. So the essential skills for graduation requirements and for English language learners were suspended and are still suspended. A new rule in effect for last year was the menstrual dignity for students, where you're supposed to have product and dispenser in every bathroom K-12. And then for health services, there were new requirements adopted, and Creighton and the counseling and nurse department are all over this already, so we are fully in compliance. So this is where the teachers again are confused. Like, you're adding one more thing to my plate. I'm like, no, it should have never come off your plate. It's still required, been required since COVID. And so last week during in-service time, we gave them another PD, and now we gave them the parameter that you have to enter into your grade book. You have to tell your administrator at the end of October, what is the unit that you're doing the local performance assessment for? What is it? And when we want to know what it is in the grade book. And then they'll have to do it for second semester as well. So now we're kind of going one step further, not just PD, but now we need evidence. So I think ODE will be fine with this. The menstrual dignity for students requires free and accessible products in every school bathroom and instructions on use of the products. So we turned down the menstrual dignity grant because we are able to get free product. We don't need the grant money. And by not taking the grant money, it kind of gives us a little bit more latitude of how we're going to comply with this. We are in partial compliance. We have dispensers and products in every restroom except for in the K2 building where it is in the staff bathroom. So if a student needed to have a menstrual product, they could go into that staff bathroom and access it. There are also products in every single office. There's the nurse's office. There's no shortage of having access to the items. In the documentation, I'm gonna let them know that it's on my list. I'll be on the list next year too, just for remodeling the bathroom.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, perfect.
Diploma requirements. Again, we were already doing this. So after 2027, all students are required to have a half a credit of personal finance and a half a credit of career education. Well, advisory group already covers the career education, and in senior survey, he does cover some personal finance. So he'll just flush that out a little bit more, and we'll just need to change the course title for that. And we've already got that implemented. We already have the curriculum. We're not gonna buy- Yeah, we're not
I
gonna buy-
like this.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, didn't we have like classes for that? Are those gone now?
Well, it used to, like, when I was in school,
Yeah, like you learn how
you
to write a
had
check.
to
and
wrote a
everything,
check, right?
How to balance your
Now
check.
it's Zelle, how you demo.
Yeah.
Hey,
Anymore.
Yeah,
Still gotta
so,
set up an account.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
check
still
it.
balance it,
Yeah.
you know.
what do you mean? I saw checks. That's funny.
What do you mean?
What's that mean?
Yeah,
I hope that can be fleshed out.
yeah, it will be fleshed out. We know that there's more curriculum coming for us to choose from, so, and,
That's like such an important area.
Yeah.
It is, it's beyond.
Yeah. And then this is the one that you were talking about, Anna, that we had a press release today from ODE about the, substance use prevention and intervention plan that talks about, opioid prevention education in grades 6, 7, 8, and once in high school. They'll get it more than that though in high school because they have health 9th grade and usually 11th grade as well. So, and then I think the counselors have been looking at including a lesson plan in advisory groups, you know, the social emotional learning that talks about that. So we were already working on that. And we're gonna have, you know, a tab on our website that has this information as well, kind of like 80s law, 80s Act, where we have to talk about child abuse, things like that.
Do we
Seriously.
have the kids as well?
The Narcon, we did when we had the school resource officer, we had them on site. I know they have them down at the department. So,
But not on campus.
Well, I think there's like 123 school districts that have applied and gotten the kits or whatever. And since they're mandating, you know, basically a curriculum around the fentanyl. I mean, the thing is that these kids are taking this stuff and they're big pills and they're laced and all kinds of stuff. And so like, it's been incredible. Thankfully, I don't feel like it's touched us in the same way that it's touched
Yeah.
these other larger schools. It's just something to.
yeah, I can see if, we can just have, you know, with the kit,
Yeah.
It'd have to be locked up,
Oh, yeah.
but I know we have medication lockers already, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I obviously, this is just throwing it out there. If,
I'm not opposed to it. I mean, because we don't have an SRO here. And I don't know what is going on with the police department. I don't know if there's anybody, I don't know how.
Even for like high school games
Yeah,
with having people here.
we
that are not
had,
there, you just never know.
yeah.
first responders here,
Mhm.
watching our games.
Well,
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and of course they,
Oh, that's good.
They would have something. to.
Yeah.
That's true.
Well, yeah, like I just remember somebody having something happening in the parking lot.
Yeah,
It
that was my-
Not our kids.
no,
or
it was
anything.
an adult, it was a random adult
Yeah.
in the parking lot in
Yeah,
his
yeah,
car.
yeah.
and
That's right. Yeah.
That was my first year here. So that's it for Division 22.
Great.
We're pretty close to perfect. That's hilarious.
Next year.
Yeah. Except we won't, with industrial dignity, I'll probably never get to perfect. I'm hoping Tracy Kramer will change that for us. So we just need board action on that. Division 22, it's on page 49.
That's it.
Very light.
Nope,
Right there.
I'm back right there.
I did that like 3 times already. I'm extremely tired.
We're almost done. You're
I
good.
know. I moved that the Jervis School District #1 Board of Directors approve the Division 22 standards for K through 12 education within the OARs as presented by Dandy Stevens.
Yes, a motion.
I second.
Second. Any more discussion? All in favor?
I,
Aye.
Okay, bond update. So you have a couple of, just one, sorry. Handouts labeled draft. I just wanted to share what we've been doing. So, yesterday, Wednesday, the architect came in. It's right behind the 3-page stapled. Yep. The architect came in yesterday and we started, we had 2 meetings. One was just a meeting that talked about district standards in general. Like, what's important to us? What do we want to have in our buildings, our facilities? And then it was things like technology, food service, transportation was here. And then we started the conversation with the middle school. And so, you know, like they put up the sketch of the new concept, right? And they talked about the secure front entryway, like what's important to you? Do you want a counter? Do you want them to have to come in this way? Like, what are you thinking? So they're asking all of these kind of general questions of different departments and schools. So then they kind of get a feel of, okay, you should go visit Centennial High School, and we're gonna go look at, North Marion. And we're gonna see that in action, so that we can then identify where do we go to see these things. And so this document that you have, it says draft because it is a work in progress. And so basically, we had our district standards meeting number 1 on October 16th. That's the first blue line. And then the second blue line, we had the middle school design committee. And again, this is just the first meeting. I mean, I'm like, we're not picking out colors. We're not, where the light sockets go. Like, we're just, we're not talking teaching stations. Like, you'll all be included. You will all be.
Yeah.
So, I just thought that you might like to see this and kind of see what we're doing, and we'll post this on the bond website page so people know. We had our communication person here taking pictures, and she posted on social media, like, look, they're working and getting things done. At your November meeting, the project manager is going to have you go into a local contract review board meeting. And that's where the project managers will present a findings of fact, and public testimony will be heard about what model you're going to use, whether it's a local, I think it's going to be a construction manager, general contractor delivery method, meaning like they put out a request for proposals for a contractor. And it might be multiple contractors, since we've got 3 projects going on, because some of the smaller contractors might not be able to handle the whole thing. And so then we're going to, select a contractor, and then that contractor will be responsible for getting the sub bids. And it's all under them in coordination with the architect and the project managers. So, that's the way most schools are doing it right now. Seems to get the best price and also the least amount of hands in the pie. And, the contractor's the one responsible ultimately for all the work, they'll deal with the warranty issues. Oh, electrical, well, that's your subcontractor. You have to go take care of that. So, Scott will be here, and he'll talk about what all that looks like when we meet in November. That was why I was also wanting to know. So exciting times.
Yeah.
It's happening. And then the idea that, you'll give them the thumbs up to proceed at your November meeting. Right after that, we'll publicize the RFP, and then, at the January 16th meeting, we'll present our selection and we'll approve the contract. So that's all I have about the bond.
Okay.
I have no updates on the test scores. I don't know if you saw the headline in the Woodburn Independent.
We did.
I don't know how they get to have the test scores and I can't have the test scores, but apparently we're doing better than North Marion and Woodburn.
Wow,
So that's
nice.
That's good. That's a win.
Yeah,
I'll take it. The scores are still not great, but I mean, what Creighton showed you is like really what has happened.
And it takes time.
It
Doesn't happen overnight.
Wait a minute, Woodward Independent got information you need?
Yeah, all the newspapers have access to the data, and when I looked up, the Oregonian had a link, a hyperlink, and so then I clicked on it, and Brooks Elementary is doing outstanding.
Oh,
Nice. But no, that's nice to know.
Brooks Elementary, there's nobody there.
there's nobody there.
Oh. I was gonna think, what's that? Oh.
Yeah.
Wait, is that a head start there?
No, well, and that's, so I thought, well, like, maybe they're weird. No, it says Brooks Elementary, Jervis Middle School, Jervis High School. I'm like,
So they could have gotten everything wrong, is what you're
it could have
saying.
been, yeah, so I just stopped
Could've
reading
been
at that
old.
point. Like, never mind. Thanks, Oregonian.
Oh,
So-
my word. Oh, my word.
well,
So I'm just gonna wait till we get the real data, and we'll go from there.
let's hope that we're doing better.
Yes, I think we are.
I personally think we are too.
I think we
Yeah.
are.
I've
That's
seen
wonderful.
vast improvement right now.
I don't know, I talked to people from like West Salem, because I work with somebody there, and they just not going good there,
No.
so, yeah.
Well, I wish people would stop calling me from Portland and telling me these things like the
bats,
bats.
yeah.
I was just like, oh. That's why I like small schools.
Yeah, I love small schools.
I do too.
I think we're done.
Come on, one more hour.
All right.
No, guys.
What else are we gonna do?
We're done. Thank you all. We're here.
Thank you.